So to make something new with the clay, you have to teach it to forget what it was. And I would imagine that if I was the clay, it would be very painful. I first discovered pottery in a middle school art survey class. What drove me to it was just the fact that I was not good at anything else. I looked forward to ceramics so much I would skip out of almost all of my other like my other friends were skipping out and getting into a lot of trouble, and I was skipping out and making pots. When I started out as a potter, it was all about the technique, and I imagined myself as a machine, if you will. I made 14,000 pieces using that technique. I remember at one point, I got into this deep falling out with a friend of mine, and I was really upset with him. And the next day when I went to sit down at the wheel, I couldn't make anything. Everything fell apart. It didn't make any sense. I didn't understand why. The only thing that was different was the fact that I had anger towards this person. I don't even know if that's the right word. I wanted justice. I wanted revenge. I was mad. I needed to release my desire for justice and revenge. And as I did that, I was able to get back to the skill level I'm used to at the wheel. If I'm gonna make something that I've made a million times before, kind of like being a machine that's just the repeater, I can be in any emotional state. But if I'm going to make a piece of art that's an expression of my soul and produce something I've never done before, I have to be clean. And what I mean by that is it really seems to me like forgiveness allows me to create something new. I started working with this extremely fine porcelain, and most potters, if I were to tell them the type of porcelain that I was working with, they would start to use vulgar language about how difficult it is to work with. It's a real challenge. And when I would work with it, I would have really good days. And then I would have bad days where everything would collapse. And that's when I really started thinking back to unforgiveness and bitterness. And is that what's there? Is that what's causing these things to collapse? I realized that there was a group of people from my past that I really needed to forgive, that were affecting me on a regular basis. Early on in school, I would say around third grade, everything just became extremely difficult. Things just didn't really make sense. I couldn't read. Math was very difficult. And when the teacher said that the shape fundamentally of the letter A is this, I would take that apart in my head and I would move it around. And I would have multiple answers to whatever question was asked. And so I would fail all of these tests. Some of my teachers said some pretty harsh things. I remember coming home one day, just crying with a piece of paper that had an F on it, and I said, "Mom, I'm dumb." Yeah, it's still hard. It's still hard. To be told by a person that you're dumb is one thing, but then to be told by a whole system that you're dumb is, man, that's, you absorb that. I have this desire for revenge, and I have to let that go. It affects everything. If someone would have told me 20 years ago that forgiveness would have been the most important tool in my arsenal, I don't think I would have believed them. How can something so abstract affect so many things? Early in the morning, I try and do a self-inventory. I'll sit, I'll pray, I'll ask God, who should I forgive? And people will come to mind. And I have to clear that away before I sit down at the wheel. Forgiveness has made me a better person, and in turn made me a much better potter. Clay has a memory, and when you begin to work with it, it's been a certain shape for a long time. You have to rework it, you have to break it down. You have to teach it to forget what it was, so it can become something new.